What is going on, guys? Now we've got the final issue of Superior Spider-Man issue 31. Now in the previous issue, Dr. Octopus actually gave Peter back his body because, well, Peter is the Superior Spider-Man. Anyway, if you click the video in the top left corner, then you'll be able to go and see my Ultimate Spider-Man comic book collection, because I'm a huge Ultimate Spider-Man fan and I have every single comic pretty much now. And if you click the video in the top right corner, then you'll be taken to my Ultimate Spider-Man issue 200 review, and you'll be able to pretty much see the entire comic for free as well. And if you leave a comment on that video, then you'll enter to win a free Ultimate Spider-Man issue 200 comic. Anyway, going into the video, this is the first page of Superior Spider-Man issue 31, and it pretty much picks up where we left off in issue 30 at the end. Pretty much Goblin showing off his masterpiece of New York City, his Goblin Nation as he likes to call it. And then we go back to Spider-Man, who is now Peter Parker, by the way, the real Peter Parker, and he's changed to the original costume. And he goes out to see that Carly is, well, goblinized type of thing. Obviously he doesn't know what's been going on because he's been trapped in Doc Ock's mind type of thing. But he has to convince Carly that he is now Peter Parker. And obviously the one way to do that is to tell her that she basically shot him when he was Dr. Octopus. So, yeah. Anyway, Carly ends up having to bring Peter up to speed with what's going on, like how Goblin gained control, stuff like that, and then Peter sets out on his way. But the first thing to do before Peter Parker actually goes out anywhere, he has to make sure Aunt May is okay, like every loving nephew should. But obviously Aunt May and Mary Jane and all that are kind of confused because last time she spoke to Peter, he was arguing with her and shouting at her and stuff like that, but of course it was actually Doc Ock in Peter's body, so everyone's kind of confused that Peter's kind of just become nice all of a sudden, stuff like that. Anyway, we go to J. Jonah Jameson, who is the mayor of New York City. Now, Jameson has completely destroyed his reputation for New York because he sent out the Spider Slayers to destroy Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Ock. But Goblin gained control of those robots and basically just wreaked havoc. Now, we go back to Spider-Man 2099, who doesn't know that Peter and Doc Ock have switched bodies, so he's really angry at Spider-Man because Spider-Ock left Spider-Man 2099 to himself to fight the robots and nearly killed him and stuff like that. But Peter Parker reassures him that it was Doc Ock controlling his body, and pretty much Spider-Man 2099 just turns around and he's like, yep, sounds crazy enough to be true, so I'll believe you. And that's pretty much what the Avengers did as well, which is pretty funny. A story that can be so crazy is so true. It's just amazing. But anyway, yeah, the Avengers kind of just brush it aside and are just like, right now we have to keep New York City safe, so right now Spider-Man, just go and do your thing. But anyway, they find out that later on you find out that Alchemax is actually armed with bombs and explosives and stuff like that, because even though Alchemax is pretty much behind the destruction of the city and Goblin and everything like that, if Alchemax was the only building to remain standing and untouched, it looked pretty weird and pretty suspicious that Alchemax didn't receive any damage. So they planted bombs in the building to make it look like that Alchemax was also part of the destruction of the city. So Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 have got to get there and pretty much evacuate every single person out there as fast as possible. But on the way there, they actually get hit by one of the goblins, and the goblin goes to take Spider-Man 2099 as hostage because he knows, or he's seen, that Spider-Ock left him pretty much for dead. So he doesn't think that Spider-Man will turn around and help him. But of course, it's Peter Parker that's in Spider-Man's body now, so he doesn't leave Spider-Man 2099. He comes back and cures the goblin. So Spider-Man is carrying a cure pretty much for the goblins, and it's really interesting as well because he's going to try and cure all the people that have been turned into goblins. And that's pretty psychotic to think of that, actually, that Green Goblin was Norman Osborn, and now all these years later Norman Osborn is turning other people into goblins. That's pretty weird. But anyway, going on to Alchemax and what we see here, that is actually someone else called Normie, and that is pretty much Alchemax is being created for that kid there sat in the seat. And of course Spider-Man 2099 and the original Spider-Man turn up to get everyone out of the building as fast as possible because it's armed with explosives. It's also probably interesting to mention that Spider-Man 2099 is also there because the signal that was controlling the Spider Slayers was originating from the Alchemax building, and of course it's Stone, Tiberius Stone for that matter, who is pretty much the head of Alchemax, and he's created some kind of jammer for Spider-Man's spider sense. Now I think it only works with Peter Parker. I'm not sure whether it works with Spider-Man 2099, but Spider-Man 2099 runs over and pretty much just jaws Tiberius Stone straight in the face. So I think it's all obvious to everyone there that Tiberius Stone is a really bad guy. But then again, I think that's Liz Allen, who is also kind of with Alchemax. She picks up the device and keeps it for herself just to stop everyone else from using it and stuff like that. And Spider-Man then sets out to go and save Doc Ock's girlfriend from the Green Goblin. Now this is the greatest part of the comic, because obviously Green Goblin has set up his plan around Doc Ock being Spider-Man, but he doesn't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man now. Like, he doesn't know they've switched back bodies. So the moment Spider-Man makes a joke about Green Goblin turns around and he's just like, "It's you!" And it's just like, oh my god. Oh, it was so good. And Spider-Man, of course, comes back with the one and only. So I absolutely love how Dan Slott did that, how pretty much Green Goblin realised Peter Parker was back when he made a joke, because Doc Ock didn't used to make jokes when he was Spider-Man and stuff like that, and I thought that was so well done. But of course, Green Goblin's plan originated around Doc Ock being Spider-Man, but of course it's not Doc Ock anymore, so things aren't going to go to plan for Green Goblin, I'm afraid. But eventually, Spider-Man catches up with Green Goblin, jumps on his glider, and is able to stop him. Also, it looks like anyway, what actually happens is Spider-Man is trying to inject Norman Osborn, or whoever it is, the Green Goblin, with the cure. So it'll pretty much take away his Green Goblin powers, so it'll make him less of a psycho, and he won't have his strength to stay on his glider, etc. But Goblin gets the upper hand in this part and actually knocks the cure straight out of Spider-Man's hand, and basically that's the end of any chance of Norman Osborn being cured. But Spider-Man still manages to get his hand onto Green Goblin's mask, and he didn't grab it, but as he pulled away, Spider-Man used his Stickum powers, his sticky hands, and pulled the mask straight off his Goblin's face, and realises that it's not Norman Osborn under the mask. And Spider-Man has no idea who this guy is. He's never seen him before in his life. But oh god, it's such an awful thing, this. It turns out that this is Norman Osborn, but he's had plastic surgeries to change his face. That is awful. So Norman Osborn pretty much recreated his entire face because his face was too well known across the world and stuff like this. So we needed to recreate his face, give a new public image to create Alchemax. So again, Norman Osborn is behind Alchemax as well. So not only has he created Oscorp, but he's created Alchemax, and that explains why Alchemax is so corrupt in Spider-Man 2099. Anyway, then we go on to Doc Ock's girlfriend jumping off the side of the building, and Peter remembering when Gwen Stacy died. Now, he has been practicing this moment since Gwen Stacy died off the George Washington Bridge. He has to time his webs just right, he has to put the right amount of pullback force just to make sure that he doesn't snap a neck, and he manages to save her this time, and also he manages to stop Norman Osborn from falling off his glider. Anyway, Liz ends up pressing the jammer on Spider-Man when he brings Norman Osborn back and allows Norman Osborn to get away. Now, Spider-Man thinks that she pressed it by mistake because it's Liz, so she's a friend of Spider-Man, but in reality she pressed it to allow Norman Osborn to escape, and he actually escapes to some underground subway type of thing where he escapes in some kind of Goblin train, and now he doesn't have the influence of the Goblin serum and stuff like that. He's not as insane, so he's more clear-headed, and he says he'll be back with a vengeance. Anyway, then we go to Spider-Man 2099 and Peter Parker talking and becoming friends and stuff like that, and saying how they'll see each other in the future. And obviously, like, Peter is surprised that Spider-Man 2099 is in his time because he didn't know he was there anyway. And of course, then the Avengers turn up after the bad guys have gone, which always happens. Spider-Man is then confronted by Doc Ock's girlfriend, which is pretty weird because Doc Ock's girlfriend is in love with Peter Parker, but it's not Doc Ock in Peter's body anymore, so that's going to be really awkward for Peter. But she's just going on about how she's asking if Peter's safe and how she loves him and stuff like that. But that's pretty weird because Peter is back in his body, but he doesn't love her, so I don't know how that's going to work out in future comics and stuff like that. But that's when Peter realizes that even though no one had to die, someone did have to give up their life to allow people to be saved and there to be justice of the day. And that is actually the end of the comic. Now, there is more of the comic, but it's kind of like an epilogue type thing, so I didn't include it in this video. But yeah, there is a final awesome shot of the Superior Spider-Man, and of course the Amazing Spider-Man will pick up again in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. Yes, that's right, the Amazing Spider-Man is starting from issue 1 all over again, and I will be reviewing it as well. As for this issue, I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 out of 10, probably a strong 8, just because it wasn't as good as the previous issue where Peter got his body back, but then again, it was alright, so strong 8 out of 10. Anyway, click the video in the top left corner to visit my Ultimate Spider-Man comic book collection, and don't forget to click the video in the right top hand corner to go to my Ultimate Spider-Man issue 200 review. And if you leave a comment in the comment section below on that video, then you'll be in with a chance to win the Ultimate Spider-Man issue 200 digital comic. I will also be reviewing Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issue 1, because of course that's starting from issue 1 again as well. Anyway, please hit the like button if you like my video, because it really helps out a lot. Please hit the subscribe button for more, and as always, I will see you guys in my next video.